Today, Bitcoin saw epic volatility in a very short period of time, and we touched the exact resistance of the descending broadening wedge before seeing that dip. This is the long-term descending broadening wedge that started off in March of this year. So we are now challenging the main downtrend line resistance. Since March, we've only been getting lower highs. Now we're starting to see higher highs and higher lows. Something is changing. Something is brewing. And Bitcoin is very likely about to see a massive move. All of this and more in today's video. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin Svenson, and today we're going to be discussing the price of Bitcoin. Looking at Bitcoin and the S&P, you can see they both are generally finding lows together and tops together, lows together, and bouncing together. Today, the S&P is in the red, but Bitcoin is in the green. And this happens from time to time. What it signals is that we have an increase in demand and an increase in interest. Today, we got the headline that Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs soar with 570 million in combined inflows. So this is growing. The interest in Wall Street is growing. If you go to the 4-hour chart, you can see we had this huge wick earlier today. We hit that descending broadening wedge resistance, dipped right back down, and then we continued to bounce, continued to get bought back up. The market likes these levels. Since March, every time we had a rejection wick like that, the 4-hour would close in the red. This time, it's a little different. This is the type of action we see in bull markets, and Bitcoin is playing out a possible trap liquidity short squeeze setup where you have a huge wick that is 45% or more larger than the candle body, which means there's a lot of short positions in that wick. And if the price does break this wick high, this could send us over 70,000. And let me explain why that is. If you have a trending market with momentum, the 20 EMA is currently up at a 45-degree angle. If you just take out a trend line and hold the shift key, it'll snap it to a 45-degree angle, which means we have a lot of upside momentum. And if the market is trending up with upside momentum, with an EMA up at a 45-degree angle or more, if you get a rejection wick inside of an uptrend, when you break the wick high, it's going to be a short squeeze. All of the short positions inside of that candle will be considered trapped liquidity once we break above that wick high. And so what is the target right now for this trapped liquidity short squeeze setup on the 4-hour chart? Well, if you measure from wick to wick the size of that candle in a trending market, it should translate to a 1 to 1.5 risk reward ratio, which means that this candle, if we do get a trap liquidity short squeeze, is going to send us up to 72,600. And that is quite a move for Bitcoin. If we squeeze the shorts here, we're looking at 72,600 as the target, which is going to take us well above this resistance. I'm going to mark a horizontal line on the all-time high. So that's going to be putting us above the downward sloping resistance and right below the all-time high. In this range, in between these two, is going to be an area of major volatility. If we get this short squeeze, if we break that wick high, 72,600 roughly, and then a retest of the resistance as new support before consolidating and breaking out and actually getting that all-time high break. And that could be going into right around the election, right after the election, I think is when we're going to be looking to actually break the all-time high. Now, why do I say that? Well, every time Bitcoin broke the all-time high, it was when? Right after, during or right after the election, back with Obama, right after the inauguration, we broke the all-time high. 2017, right after the inauguration, we broke the all-time high. 2020, right after the election, during the election, we broke the all-time high, and the inauguration took place after the new all-time high. So you can see it's like clockwork. Election, all-time high. Election, all-time high. Election, all-time high. And this time is no different. We are right there, right near the all-time high. We are literally less than 12% away from the all-time high that we had in March. And the election is here, guys. So, you know, this is pretty obvious. It's kind of just staring us right in the face, being served to us on a silver platter. You know, a lot of people are going to say, well, Kev, it seems too obvious. Then it won't happen, right? Well, a lot of you guys have been skeptical pretty much all year. Since the beginning of 2023, I've seen massive levels of bearishness, of skepticism, and even up here where we are right now, people have been skeptical the entire time we've been consolidating at the previous all-time high. Have you noticed that? A lot of bearish talk up here, but we're sitting right near the all-time high. So this is all very good. Sentiment is not overwhelmingly positive just yet. It was only until today that we started to see the fear and greed index tick into greed, right? There's no extreme greed, just slight greed. Yesterday was neutral, last week neutral, last month neutral, and we're just starting to see some greed. And that's because we're getting close to breaking the downward sloping resistance. Once we break out up into this range, maybe hit that short squeeze target of 72,600, we're going to be probably seeing some extreme greed. And then hopefully we dip and get rid of that greed for a short period before resetting some of the indicators and running for real right after the election, as usual. And as we discussed in previous videos, the descending broadening wedge, that pattern that we were looking at, this one since March that's been forming, the breakout target for this pattern, looking at the textbook diagram, is 91,000, right? This is just from the textbook. This is not my opinion. I don't make the rules, just going by the book. From the high to the low of the pattern, that is your price objective, which is 91,000, before continuing the parabolic trend, which is very apparent and very real. Parabolic trend is something that you actually cannot argue because we have exponential higher lows. This is not a straight trend line. This is a curved trend. This is exponentially higher than the previous low. Measure the degree in which the trend line is increasing. It is a parabola, and we are at base 3. According to my analysis, 62,000 is the middle of the range, which from base 3, the price doubles to the sell point, which in this case, 62,000, doubling would be 124,000. So that is at least what the textbook is saying. Regardless of what your opinion may be on where we should be peaking this cycle, or what my sort of desired price is, just based on the textbook, we should be looking at 124,000. And honestly, that target seems to be pretty realistic in terms of what we see from other people, you know, other analysts, social media, people calling for 200, 300,000, you know, stuff like that. This seems to be right around the zone where most people would be FOMOing, calling for crazy high numbers, and ultimately we would just be following the textbook diagram. So as of right now, this is what I'm looking for in the longer term. And now if we look at the total 3, the altcoin market cap, we are very much on track for this cycle. We are in the exact same position as the last cycle. With the election coming up, the altcoins in 2020 began breaking out of the consolidation right as the election began. And here we are, 2024, the election is coming close and we're starting to break the consolidation. It's the exact same setup and the exact same event. Election, consolidation, breakout. Then you break that lower high. Election, consolidation, breakout up to the lower high. So around November, we can be expecting the altcoins to surge and break that lower high. Everything is lining up. We are on schedule across the board. Now, I want to also mention the total 3, the altcoin market cap. This is excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. All the altcoins reached a 358 billion market cap at the end of the 2017 run, and they reached about a 1.1 trillion market cap at the end of the 2021 run. At the end of the 2017 run, at the peak wick, Bitcoin was $350 billion, just like the total 3. And at the end of the 2021 run, Bitcoin was at 1.2 trillion and the altcoins were at 1.1 trillion. So when the total 3 matches Bitcoin's market cap, that is the end of the cycle, at least the past 2 cycles. If you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Bitcoin's running up, and when all of the speculative assets meet the same market cap, that's the end. It's an interesting little piece of information, something to consider as you're looking to, you know, find the next top of the cycle. Watch the total 3 market cap versus Bitcoin market cap. And when they're aligned, you should be taking profit on everything. If you guys want more insights onto my thoughts on Bitcoin, charts, trends, trades, altcoins, join the Patreon. The opportunity to get into Patreon and keep these prices for as long as you want, that opportunity is slowly fading as we're getting closer to the all-time high. Once retail comes back and it's on the news again, I'm going to be raising prices to limit the amount of people from coming into the Discord so you guys can get these prices now, today. Every weekday, about 1 hour after the stock market opens, In the Discord, we do a voice chat where you guys talk to me directly, ask me questions directly about Bitcoin, altcoins, charts, trends, trades, all that stuff. To get in the Discord, you have to be a Patreon member. You join Patreon and then you follow the steps to connect Patreon and Discord. In the settings in Patreon, you log into Discord and then you'll be automatically loaded into my Discord channel. Follow the steps and I'll see you guys in the next one.